Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're so glad you're here. And I know everyone's here because of Google and Yahoo's new rules for mass email senders. Some of you might be a little nervous. You're not quite sure what to do. But as 2023 rolled into 2024, this has become the most trending topic in email marketing, no doubt. If you've got questions, well, you've come to the right place. We've got Brian Minnick, Chief Operating Officer of Zero Bounce. He's a man who lives and breathes email. He will tell you about the rules and everything you need to know to stay in Google and Yahoo's good graces and get your emails to the inbox, which is Zero Bounce's mission. Zero Bounce helps you get your emails to the inbox, which is the name of the game if you want to get results with your email marketing. Also, before I hand it over to Brian, keep in mind we'll send you the full recording of this webinar. And if you still have questions at the end, you can ask Brian whatever you like. You'll see that there's a chat there. We'll be looking at those. And thanks again for joining us. Let's get into it.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Welcome, everybody. I see a couple of the comments. People are saying no sound, but we are hearing some people are. Maybe refresh, rejoin in case you're having any issues. We are live. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Today, we are going to talk about claiming the inbox with email security and how we're going to get ahead of these Google and Yahoo anti-spam rules. And so what's really interesting here for myself, especially being in this, is, and I don't hear it talked about a lot, so I think it's a great opener. Google and Yahoo got together and agreed on something. They agreed on a policy, they agreed on implementation, they agreed on how they're going to do it. And, you know, it's very interesting. So I'm excited to share with you guys kind of what updates are required and how to do them, because they are definitely going to be important. A little background here on myself. My name is Brian Minnick. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Zero Bounce. I have been with Zero Bounce almost since inception. I have over 15 years experience in the tech and marketing space. My passion has always been in tech and marketing. I started as a software developer. And on the bottom right-hand corner, if there is anyone who would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do. I'll leave this slide up here for just a second. Still seeing people saying no video, but some people saying there is, so we should be okay. Please refresh your screens. If you're having any issues, refresh the browser. Please connect with me here on LinkedIn. Send me a request. I'll also use it as an avenue for you. If you have any questions or you want to ask me something, you're welcome to do that through LinkedIn. And please connect with me. A little bit of background here on Zero Bounce, just in case there is people here who are not currently using our platform, which I'm sure there probably is. We are known as the #1 email deliverability platform. We have well over 300,000 clients on our platform, and that is growing significantly every single day. Here is a sampling of some of the logos of businesses that are using our platform and trust and rely on us. And we have been on the Inc. 5000 4 times. There are many, many people that are not listed here that are very large brands as well. And so we're just, again, excited to kind of showcase a lot of the different things and a little bit about Zero Bounce. So let's get into it. Your email deliverability is at risk. In February 2024, there are going to be changes that are required by Google and Yahoo. Now, the dates have, in my opinion, been a little loose. Let's all say, for sake of making sure we're good, February 1st is the date. So February 1st, 2024, Google and Yahoo are making changes. They're going to impact basically every single company sending email, and this will be worldwide. So what are we going to do? What is this? How is it playing a role? What is it that we're going to need to do? I'll go through it with you today. The 3 big changes from Google and Yahoo are going to be that all senders must have email authentication, which I'm going to go into good detail today. One-click unsubscribes, and a low spam complaint percent or ratio. Email authentication, we're going to dig real deep into it, so I'm going to glaze over it for right now. The one-click unsubscribe, This is something that will be implemented and handled by your ESPs. So if you are using MailChimp, Constant Contact, any of the major players, Klaviyo, all these guys should be automatically implementing the one-click unsubscribe. It's part of the header. And it is something that they will do for you. And I'm sure they have already done this in preparation. The low spam complaints, they are putting up a ratio of 0.3%. So 0.3% or lower is what they're considering low spam complaints. I can tell you from a lot of experience and seeing different things that 0.3% is actually a very, let's say, gracious number given by them. 0.1% is really where you want to be. And for just more layman's terms here, for every 1,000 emails you send, if more than 3 of those are being marked as spam, you will break that threshold. I would shoot and aim for 0.1% or less. So 1 out of every 1,000 emails sent or 0 are getting spam complaints. Again, this number is very low. I assume, based on kind of where they're starting, that this is a starting point. So you will look to make sure that that number stays low. Do not get comfortable with 0.3% because I can tell you from experience it's high. 0.1% or less is really where you want to be. This is all going to start needing to be implemented February 1st, and it's going to be applicable to any organization who's sending 5,000 emails to Google and Yahoo users. Now, this part here I think is very misleading for a few reasons. Number one, I think that the who is every single person. If you send email, you should have these 3 things in place because for a few reasons. Number one, while you might not send that amount of email today, while you might not see that have that amount that you're sending today, what you will see, sorry here, I'm getting, there we go. What you will see is you have people behind the scenes that are sending email, and you're seeing a bunch of different, you might get different results. So if marketing sends emails, but sales is sending emails, you don't know what's always happening on your domain. And that's another part of what email authentication is going to help with today. So if you're sending email to basically anybody, you should have these 3 things in place. I think it's really important. The minimum is 5,000, sorry, it's going to be enforced at 5,000. But again, you don't know when that might happen, or you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And so I would recommend this for anybody who sends mail. So what happens on the authentication side? So authentication is one of the big 3 bullets that the changes are coming in. What that means is if you do not have email authentication, which again, I'm going to go into detail, but if it's not in place, your emails are going to be landing in the spam folder due to non-compliance. So if you are not in compliance, then you will be marked as spam and you'll be put into the spam folder. If it's very bad, you might get rejected completely by Google and Yahoo. Now, there's been a lot of focus about Google and Yahoo, but my experience has once again told me that Google and Yahoo might lead this change, but they will not be the only ones to adopt. And so most likely all mail servers and providers will start to enforce these type of protocols and making sure that you have those 3 things checked because Google and Yahoo are requiring it. So why wouldn't they? If they're not in place, your email deliverability, meaning your ability to get into the inbox, it will nosedive, okay? So nosediving means that you're no longer getting into the inbox. Maybe your emails are, if you're lucky now, your emails are getting to spam. If you're very unlucky, they're being rejected or thrown into a quarantine behind the scenes. We all know the importance of email. Inbox is key. This is the entire mission that Zero Bounce is out to help and set and provide for our customers. So making sure you're in the inbox is for us the utmost important, and for you should be as well, because without that, you are not going to get the results that you are hoping to see. So what is email authentication, right? So email authentication is basically a way to certify that the emails being sent from your domain are legitimate. What happens here is there's a few different checks, and I'm going to talk about them. And emails must pass one or more of these checks to be compliant and delivered. Now, this is something that really everybody should have had in the first place. DMARC is not a new product. I really want to make sure that that's clear. It's not a new concept. It is an email security tool, and DMARC plays a big role in this. So why is it important? Why did Google and Yahoo do this? Maybe let's step back, ask that question to yourself. Why did they enforce email authentication? And, you know, I have seen this personally. The amount of spoofing, phishing, spam that's taking place on people's domains is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger because they're finding these loopholes. When you have email authentication set up properly, it stops these types of attackers, if you want to think of them that way, from using your domain because they're not authenticated, right? So that's the email authentication. To be authenticated, you must hit a few of the qualifications to do that. We're going to talk about the 3 qualifications that are required. So the first 2, which if you've heard of these, great, and you know what it is, great. I'll give you another quick refresher. But we have SPF, which is Sender Policy Framework. And this is a record that would go onto your DNS, and it would list the domains or IP addresses that you send mail from. Now you might say, what the heck is an SPF? I don't know if I have this or not. Well, generally speaking, whenever you sign up for a service like MailChimp, or you sign up for different, whoever, MailChimp, Constant Contact, I just like to name them because everyone knows what I'm talking about. Regardless of who you picked and who you're using to send mail, they're going to provide you something on setup called SPF records. The SPF needs to be added to your DNS. So yes, you need a mail or someone who manages your domain to add the SPF record. Now, SPF can be a little tricky because if you're using multiple platforms, such as maybe using Constant Contact for your main newsletter, and you use a tool like Klaviyo for automation for people that are shopping on your Shopify store, for example, both of those tools would provide you with a SPF record. And where people might make mistakes is they maybe add them separately. They need to actually be combined into one SPF record. So there's some syntax to this that's very important. And there's a lot, it's very easy to make mistakes here and unintentional mistakes. So SPF is something provided to you by each platform that you would send mail from, and it would be added to your DNS. Domain keys, or DKIM, so that's a domain key. It is basically a signature that goes out on the email address, or sorry, the emails that you send out in the headers. The way that this works, and this is also provided to you by your tools, is they're going to give you a public key. That public key would be added to your DNS. So for anyone who's not familiar with DNS, this is basically what tells the world how to react and what to do with your domain. Okay, so for my website, it goes this way. For my incoming mail, it goes this way. That is what DNS does. So on the DNS, you would add your public key, which will be provided to you by any of your major providers. And also what's taking place here, because what good is a public key if everyone can access it, is that every time you send mail on that platform, your ESP has a private key, and that is being added to the email that's being sent in the headers where no one looks, and it's being sent. And what's happening is when email gets delivered to the mail server, so if you sent it to Google, Google's going to say, okay, Zero Bound sent an email. Here's their public key on DNS because I can query that quickly. And here's the private key that was added into the email. And when those align or match, they will accept the mail. So it's considered a signed mail. So if you think about the 2 different pieces here that we're talking about, there is no way to get around this if you do not have access to the domain. Who's the only people who might send email who don't have access to your domain are spoofers, phishers, scammers, etc. So these 2 pieces play a very kind of unique role and a specific role. SPF says, here's the domains and IPs I send from. DKIM says, here's it actually in the message. Okay, so that's how you protect the domain, and that's how you protect the message. Now, these 2 things by itself are powerful. You should have them set up already. But there's one more piece to this, and that's DMARC. This is really what is being enforced. This is email authentication. Forgive me. DMARC stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance, DMARC. What this does is it's the overarching policy to what should happen. How should these receiving mail servers react if SPF is not there or if DKIM is failing. So if DKIM or SPF fail, DMARC says what to do. Okay, and that is taking place at the end user. That is not something you have control over to go query that. You have control over the policy that DMARC is set up on, but you do not have that the reading of this action takes place on the end, on the mail server that's receiving it. So by itself, SPF or DKIM, it does nothing, but it does do something. It's absolutely, you should have it and it should be there. You should already be there. But DMARC is what basically now pulls the levers and the switches. What should I do here if these things fail? Or what should I do if they all align because I'm a legitimate sender and I'm authorizing these mails? There are 3 options with DMARC. DMARC is considered an email security tool. That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to reduce the amount of spam, the amount of phishing, spoofing, because it's getting out of control. DMARC is so simple to set up and basically put it in place. There's 3 options for DMARC. You can put it in a monitoring phase, which is the least, it is the bare minimum of what DMARC can do. So you monitor all of the emails, you can quarantine the emails, or you can reject them. You cannot do a combination. It has to be kind of, sorry, you can always monitor, but you can't quarantine some and reject some. It's either monitor and quarantine or monitor and reject. I would highly recommend, and what's required is monitoring to start. And you want to start at monitoring. You don't want to go crazy. And I'll get more into that kind of in another slide. So how do I get started with DMARC? So again, SPF is authorizing the domain. DKIM is authorizing the message. DMARC says what to do if those didn't align, okay? So you need to set up DMARC. Making sure that your ESP has gone ahead and provided you with the SPF and DKIM records. Double check that. Go have your person, go have whoever runs your domain, if it's you or someone else, go have them check the SPF record. And each one of them, you'll see who's sending mail from and verify, number one, that it's up to date. For example, this also happens. I'm seeing SPF records of a tool that used to be used by this company, but is no longer used, and it's still on SPF. Remove it, because someone might try to use that as a piece to send mail from and look and disguise it as you. So if you don't have SPF or DKIM generate, on your domain, honestly, go back to the ESPs. Go back to whoever you're getting whoever you're sending mail from. But if you need help, we do have some free generators that will help with this. But again, this is really better off coming from the ESP. And then DMARC is something that will kind of help you, and we can help you get set up. So you can monitor your email domain with the DMARC policy, okay? And again, for February 1st, what's required is that you are monitoring. That is, again, the least and minimum requirement of that bullet point, monitor. So getting monitoring set up is really not that complicated. It sounds scary, but it's really not. And I'm seeing a ton of questions. I'm going to get to the questions at the end, so please bear with me. I see them and they're rolling in. So thank you, and I encourage more so I can go through anything specific. But DMARC monitoring is basically, it's a very simple configuration, and I'm going to show it for you, by the way. And it's going to monitor every single email that's being sent from your domain, okay? Whether you sent it or not. That's how we catch the spoofers. So monitoring is super important, because how do I know if something's working properly if I'm not monitoring it? And you might say, oh, it's just me and someone else. I don't have to monitor. You do, because what's happening is, again, especially as we bring in contractors, we bring in tools, we bring in this, everyone is moving so fast. Things are getting missed. It's so common, and I see it all the time. We need to set up monitoring, and you need to monitor and understand what's happening with the emails going out of your domain. If you have suspicious activity, it will be able to be highlighted, and I'll kind of explain how and why. Automated kind of the reporting here, if there's alignment issues, the health, the location, this is going to give you like a really clear picture as to either A, everything's great, that is great, that's what you're looking for, or the alternative is a lot of things are great, but some things are not. And that is why monitoring is really important before you start to enforce. So with that, let's do a quick demo here on Zero Bounce. I'm going to show you how to set up a new DMARC, how to set up DMARC on a domain. And I'm going to show you kind of a monitor that we've had in place so that you guys can get a better idea of what this looks like once it's happening. So here is the Zero Bounce platform. I am logged in as a registered user. I can go to my tools here to DMARC monitor. And in here, I have the ability to kind of view my current monitors, but I'm going to show you a quick way to add a new one. So if I want to add a new domain, I will come here and say, you know, my DMARCwebinar.com. Now, obviously, you need to have ownership of this the webinar. You need to have ownership of the domain that you want to do this to, because you need to add a record to DNS. So I'm going to click Add Domain. And when I do that, I am presented with a DNS record that needs to be added to your domain on the DNS. Now, this is set up just as it is here. This is set up to make you compliant with Yahoo and Google's requirements. All you need to do, go to your domain, create a new text record, add this as the host name, and copy this and paste it. Save the record and hit Verify DMARC. DMARC is set up on your domain. Okay, that is the minimum requirements that are needed in order to be compliant with this February 1st date. And as you get more advanced, there's optional settings here. I don't really want to get too crazy in it today, as this is more advanced. It can get more technical. And if you guys are really interested, please reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can maybe look at doing a more advanced and technical session. But if you recall, I said to you that there's 3 ways to do this. There's monitor, there's quarantine, and reject. That is what the domain policy type here would be. Are we going to do nothing? So we're not really enforcing what to do with it. We're monitoring. That means none. Quarantine is exactly what it sounds like, and reject is exactly what it sounds like. Now, I want to caution people, and the reason I clicked to this point was you cannot get, let's call it too froggy or too excited and go immediately into trying to quarantine or reject. Do not do that, okay? Start at monitoring, because you need to understand what's happening first. I see a quick question of how did we add this? Did I go too fast? In Zero Bounce, once again, if you're logged in under the member section, you will go to the tools and you will go to DMARC monitor. So we have it here on the left-hand side. I have this just a little zoomed in here, but DMARC monitor is right on the side. You would go and click Add Domain. You're going to put in your domain, DMARCwebinar.com. That's what I'm going to use for testing purposes. And I'm going to my registrar. So my domain registrar, this might be GoDaddy, this might be Cloudflare, this might be Namecheap, this could be anything that, you know, wherever you bought your domain from is where you need to go add this record to. And you can go ahead and add a text record. It's going to ask you what's the host name, you're going to copy paste, and it's going to ask you the value you're going to copy paste. From there, you're going to click Verify the DMARC record. And that is what's going to start the process of email authentication to be enabled on your domain, aka DMARC. So that's how you do it. I want to just address a few things we've seen in the comments. Do you have to be a Zero Bounce customer to do this? Well, you have to be a customer of somebody who offers DMARC. So yes, Zero Bounce offers DMARC. Are we the only ones to do it? No. Am I biased? Are we the best? Yes. But of course, you have to have a DMARC monitor in place, a DMARC tool, in order to have and be compliant. So yes, this is something that you will have to pay for one way or another, whether it's through Zero Bounce or somebody else. You will have to pay for DMARC because this is not a service that's really offered for free. So once your domain is set up, you will get an idea, and you'll see it down here. You'll see it listed. We're going to count how many emails are being sent. We're showing you if you're compliant. We're showing you if SPF is set up correctly and DKIM set up correctly. And what you can do is click into it. And now we start to get the insight. This is what we're doing. So again, just as a reminder, we were put into a monitor only stage. Okay, that's why quarantine and rejected is set as 0. I am only monitoring. That's all that's taking place here. I am getting an idea as to how many emails are being sent per day from my domain. Okay. And as I scroll down, now I'm seeing who is sending email from my domain. Okay. So these are the tools that are sending email on behalf of my domain. Now we have kind of a bunch of test data set up here, and we're monitoring from different sources. And how this works, just so everyone's aware, is there's a delay in this process, okay? So whenever you send mail, let's say I send a campaign out today, it's January 17th, it's 11:25 here Eastern time. And if I send a campaign out at 11:30 Eastern time, I can't go run into my monitor immediately after and see what happened. That's not how it's going to work. What's happening is once all that mail gets delivered to the mail servers, the mail servers then take aggregated reports. So that's what Outlook.com, you'll see Google.com. So whenever you start sending to all these Gmail users, Gmail aggregates a giant report and will feed it back to us because we're the ones doing monitoring. So it will feed it back into Zero Bounce, and then we can display that. And that's what we're doing here. But that process takes time. So you're anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. That might sound like a long time. It's going to feel like a long time on day 1, day 2, day 3. But as you get past that, the data will start to trickle in. You'll start to see what's happening. So this is going to show you where all the emails are being sent from, right? So if I click into it, I'm then also going to see the different countries this might be coming from. So there might be an indicator here if you're seeing a bunch of emails coming from countries that you should not be, that is not what you were authorizing. And as I scroll down here, I can now see also the IP addresses that are sending in behalf of us. So this is giving you, again, this is all set in a monitoring kind of way. As I come down here, we can see if SPF is failing, right? 0% means it's failing, but DKIM's aligning. So this is the whole point of monitoring. If SPF is failing on a particular item here, the next question is, well, why? Why is SPF failing? Maybe it wasn't set up properly. Maybe you have a rogue salesperson who's sending email from your domain. Remember, this will take place for all email going outbound from your domain. So it's not just your marketing newsletters. It is your users sending mail. It is your staff to staff. All of this is going to take place. And then what's happening is we're going to show you what's failing. So if you don't have an SPF record here, number one, this is going to tell you two things. Either A, was this mail supposed to be delivered? Maybe that answer is no. And now we've caught a spoofer. So very important. And now we can start to, as we get more and more insight to this, I can see, okay, this is sending a lot of mail. We can look to block them in the future. But anyway, what we're trying to do here is give you the insight so that you have the ability to take an action or understand what's happening with your domain. So that is what DMARC monitoring will do. And as you get further into it and you checked all your boxes, so all of your SPF records are good, you know every place mail is being sent from, DKIM is set up, everybody knows where it's going from, you're good, then you can look to get more aggressive and just go past monitoring, going to something like quarantine. Do not start with quarantine. You're going to run into some issues. I can almost guarantee it. So again, for minimum compliance sake on Google and Yahoo, what is required is that DMARC is set up and monitoring on your domain. Now, if SPF or DKIM are failing, you're still compliant. You're not compliant in another way, but you're compliant with this new kind of setting saying, hey, monitoring has to be in place, because now the monitor is going to show you have a problem to fix it. So that's what DMARC is. That's what email authentication is, SPF and DKIM. And so it might sound scary, might sound new. If you have no clue what I'm talking about and you're like, I don't know what I need to do, I just want to get set up, I want to make sure I'm compliant, create a new domain on zerobounce.net under DMARC, add it to your DNS, click verify, and you can take a deep breath. It is literally can be done in about 15 minutes, probably less if you're quick, but that's what it's going to take in order to be quote unquote compliant. So again, for the recommended practices for the beginners, what I just said, you definitely want to have that kind of policy equals none. That's just monitor. Policy equals quarantine, policy equals reject is getting more aggressive, and your own emails might not be delivered that you should have been delivered. So you'll catch them on monitoring first, fix it, and then you can get it more aggressive if you want. But be a little careful here. Don't think you're an expert if you don't know what you're doing here. Monitor for a month, 2 weeks minimum. Touch all the platforms that you send mail from and see what's going on. Then you can take actions. If you need to update things in your DNS for SPF or DKIM, you can do that. Those are, Again, so if I have an issue, I send from Constant Contact and something is wrong, I can clearly see it on my monitor. I would go reach out to Constant Contact and say, hey, can you confirm my SPF and DKIM records so that I can fix this? It's not aligning. They know exactly what to do. They do this every day. They can help you and make sure you're in a good place. So start with monitoring, and then you can move to quarantine or rejecting. Again, this has to be done before February 1st. I would recommend you do it today, to be very honest with you. It is not hard. It's going to give you a little boost in deliverability. They've come out and said that. They said if you do this early, and they announced this, I don't know, I want to say November, October, somewhere around there, I believe the announcement came out. And they said doing it will give you a boost in deliverability. So do it today. Don't wait for February 1st. This is, again, DMARC is the security protocol. The one-click unsubscribe, this is going to come from your ESP. This is not something you really should have to deal with too much. This is not going to be affected for you sending an internal email to your colleague. You don't need a one-click unsubscribe for that. That's for the marketing materials. And having a low spam complaint rate. Again, very, very important. For anyone who's maybe not aware, Zero Bounce is really good at this. We have data feeds that we're getting of known people who mark as spam 10 or more times. So if you have either never emailed them before and they're not expecting your email, you do not want to email these people that we would identify as known complainers, or abuse is what we call them. And make sure that you're keeping that number very low to make sure that your delivery issues, you don't get delivery issues and you get priority inbox placement. So anyone who, just imagine the amount of people who are not going to do this come February 1st, and now you are doing this and you're getting a boost kind of above them. So inbox placement is going to drop, guaranteed, because most people will not do this. But please make sure you do this. It's going to be critical to your success with email marketing. And again, I'm seeing a bunch of questions. I'm going to get to them here. I want to go over a couple things. I'm seeing it's related to this slide. We offer some email deliverability toolkits. They are packages and they are bundled to make things kind of very simple for you. I would highly recommend, if you are brand new, you're hearing about this for the first time, you don't currently have one of these packages. We're offering 50% off for the first 3 months. The package that's probably okay for you if you're a small business and you're just sending from maybe one platform, you're not complicated with many domains. We have a starter toolkit. This is perfect for you. It's going to give you the ability to monitor with DMARC. It's going to give you email finder access. So if you're looking for people's emails, you can use that product towards it. It's going to give you a bunch of queries towards it. And then the last 3 products are related here, and I want to talk about it. Blacklist monitoring, if you get put on blacklist, so here's the same thing. You're going to add your domain, and we're just going to start monitoring to see if you get on blacklist. It's automated. If something happens, we're going to go ahead and notify you through email and let you know you got put on a blacklist. Blacklist means you're in the spam folder, or you're blocked, by the way. So you don't want to be on blacklist. The whole point here would be this is green. Email server testing is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting that I've already been talking about. So you're going to send a test email to us on our email server tester. And again, this is a question that I saw up here. So this is where I'm going a little more detail. Email server testing will test SPF, DKIM, and we'll see if DMARC's on as well. So if we're seeing an issue with SPF because you're sending from one of your platforms, we're going to tell you that the SPF record is not there and it failed. So this is going to help you fix as well. So the email server test is an analysis, a technical analysis to the configuration of your domain, and it's going to let you know what's going on. And if people if people that have strict policies on the other side might have policies in place that would block your email. And the last product on this toolkit is inbox placement testing. This is basically a bunch of seed accounts that we have, and you send test emails to us, and we let you know if it's in the inbox folder, the spam folder, or it was just completely not delivered. This is really, really important tool for you before you send your big campaign. Test the placement. Now, again, this is the major providers, so the Gmails, the AOLs, Hotmails. We have seed accounts there, and you're going to send a test email, or just like you would do when you check the graphics or the rendering on your phone versus an iPad versus a laptop. You're going to send it to us, and we're going to tell you where it landed. So did it land in inbox or spam? And if not, gives you a chance to fix something. So if you landed in spam, it could be due to content, could be due to images, could be due to anything, could be due to the issues with SPF or DKIM. Inbox placement tester is going to just give you the result. Where did it land? So for anyone joining here today, we're offering 50% off the toolkit. There, if you scan the QR code, you will get a landing page that has the coupon code on it. That coupon code is DMARC 2024. For anyone who maybe doesn't have their mobile phone on them or isn't looking, you can put it in. You'll get 3 months at 50% off. And again, the starter pack is probably good for most of everybody here. If you are a big sender, first off, I hope you've already done all this. You'd be late to the game if you ask me. But if you're a big sender, you might need a bigger package. Talk to any of us here at Zero Bounce, and we can definitely help you and make sure that you get everything that you need. And so with that, that is the 3 requirements. 2 of them we can help you with at Zero Bounce. The other one has to come from your email service provider. And so let's get more emails into the inbox. Let's monitor these spoofers, and let's get the best results that we can with marketing. And so with that, I'm going to end it. Bring Paul back here, and let's go through some of the questions.
Okay, everyone, thank you for all the questions. There's so many. We will try to get to as many as possible. So Brian, how do you want to work this?
Yeah, I'll go through it. So once I get past all the videos and audio is working, what can we see here? So what if I'm 0.1% today, 0.4% tomorrow, 0.2% the next day? Greg, question that you had here. So, I mean, that's a good question. And I can tell you from our own experience sending mail, this will happen. So I think how I like to think about it is, you can't just think about one campaign. I would think about this in a time frame. But I can just tell you, if you're at 0.1% one day, 0.0% the next, and 0.4% one time, you're not in the danger zone, but you need to be paying attention to what's going on. If you've seen things 2%, 3%, 4%, you're in the danger zone and you're probably already in trouble. So yes, I do kind of agree, Greg, that this would be more of kind of somewhat of an average on a very small time frame. Do not go and span this out over a year and think you're covered. But if we're talking about a week, I think that's probably okay. And so yes, pay attention to it. Monitor it with Postmaster tools on Google, by the way. So if anyone is not familiar with it, go to postmaster.google.com, add your domain to it. It's once again in the DNS. You're going to have to do something. So might as well do all this at once. You're going to know your spam complaint rates, and you're going to know what's going on, and you're going to monitor your reputation. When you say Google,
Ron?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but one question I hope you get to is there's been so many people asking about breaking their campaign into smaller segments in order to get around this, or what if they have less? What?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And the answer is do not even think like that. That's my advice, because again, so you can go break it up. You can say, hey, I'm going to break my 7,000 person list into 2,000. I'm going to send that over the course of 3 or 4 days. You can think like that, but I would question why. Why are you doing it? Now, if you're segmenting because you have actually good reasons, such as you're targeting based on the messaging, you're targeting based on the type of emails you're sending, sure, that is a great reason to segment. But if you're trying to segment to avoid implementing DMARC, don't do that. That is not going to be something that you want to have. DMARC is required. And again, if you recall, I said on the Who, it said who's sending 5,000 emails daily to Yahoo or Gmail. Well, what if that rule changes? What if it goes to 4,000? You didn't get that update. I'm not confident that this is the end point of this. This is the bare minimum that they're saying is, hey, how am I going to reduce spam and spoofing and phishing to probably 70% of all mail going outbound? And this is going to be a start. These numbers are going to tighten. Put DMARC monitoring in place. This is not a super expensive tool. Again, with Zero Bounce on the deliverability toolkit side, we're currently charging $39. In transparency, it's going to move to $49 February 1st. That was already part of plans for a while now. But we're talking about $49 to monitor, get you compliant, get you all these additional tools as well. It's a no-brainer towards your deliverability, which again is super important. So put all these pieces together. DMARC, do not avoid it by trying to get around the system. It's not gonna. I don't recommend it. It's gonna catch up to you either one way or another, or you're gonna get caught. You know, I wouldn't do it. Would not recommend. All right, let's also go. So if we only have DKIM, do you also recommend having DMARC? Absolutely, Elena. I hope I said that correctly. DMARC is what's required by Google and Yahoo, by the way. SPF and DKIM should have been there in the first place. DMARC is what's required by Google and Yahoo. You must have monitoring in place, okay? That's the authentication side. So if they're not being authenticated through DMARC, they're not going to be delivered. So yes, all three are important: SPF, DKIM, DMARC. But DMARC is specifically what's happening here with Google and Yahoo. Subdomains, I saw that coming up. So part of DMARC on the more advanced side, I just, again, I'm cautioning because I know there's a lot of kind of new people here in regards to DMARC. DMARC has a setting under those optional settings for subdomain policies and enforcement. So you can maybe, you can change the policy, or should you include subdomains? So yes, it will handle subdomains. However, if you want to have different policies for this, you would need to add it as another domain. So the subdomains would inherit what's going on with the main domain. If you want that separated, you'd have to break it out. See here. Yes, lots of questions about, will the presentation be shared? Absolutely. Everyone registered will get a copy. See here. I'm going to go towards the bottom here. If I haven't seen any of the newer questions, what tools are available to monitor spam complaints? Cliff, Postmaster tools through Google. I don't recommend it anybody else. And the truth is, in my opinion, and the future of email, Google is killing it. And I saw this too, so let's address it. When they said Google is implementing this, yes, that's G Suite as well. So you might be sending to business domains that are sitting on Google mail servers. You're applicable to their standards, by the way. And so, if you're doing validation through Zero Bounce, you can actually identify that, because we would tell you who's using G Suite. That's part of our data appends on every single email that we do. But we are not, and what you should have is don't guess. And this is why I'm saying I don't think it matters the number. I don't think 5,000 is the target that anyone should be paying attention to. For me, it's, do you send email from your domain? Yes or no. If you don't, then of course you don't need it. If you send email, you need DMARC. Should be there. Let me see if I can see anything else. Is this recorded? It is, but I am live, Jonathan. And I mean, I don't know if I covered it all, but I'm not seeing too many different questions. If you have 4,999, should you split it and ignore DMARC? No, please don't do that. I think I've covered all the questions. I'm going to just go back real quick to slide 1, or the slide where you can connect with me here on LinkedIn. Again, please, I recommend and encourage you guys, please connect with me here on LinkedIn, scan that QR code, send me a connection request. If you have a specific question, you're welcome to ask me that way. And also, if you do have interest in maybe doing a more advanced session on DMARC, going into those, specific policies and really digging deeper into it, let me know. And if there's enough interest, I'll go ahead and do another webinar on that as well. So with that, I do definitely want to thank everyone for joining today. I want to just also give a very special thanks. So number one, this has been our largest webinar that you guys as our customers and people who are interested in Zero Bounce have signed up for. That's a big honor. I'm excited for it and was excited to do it today. And I just want to thank all the people that had moving parts as part of this. Paul, thank you. Ann on our team, Karina, Zach. We have people that put the graphics together for us today. So this is not something that happens easily. And I just want to thank every single person involved here on the Zero Bounce side. And thank you all as attendees and customers of Zero Bounce. Thank you. And let us know if we can help you further.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It was such a huge crowd from Cancun, Mexico to Kansas City, the United Kingdom, Southern California. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch. It's support@zerobounce.net. even if it's beyond the DMARC questions, we're always happy to be of service. We have a live chat. Reach out at any time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.